But this is interesting because we've just touched on two factors that help people exude confidence.
Yeah, it is
If
interesting. We're actually inadvertently
firstly,
talking about it. Well, actually, let's talk about it and see.
yeah, first of all, do the work. Do the work. If you want to be confident about your subject or what you're thinking about or what you're going to be talking about, then do the work. Go do the learning and do the repetition that's necessary for you to be a master of that subject. That will help you relax because you'll
You've done
know
the work.
you've done the work. And secondly, be conscious of yourself, but not overly conscious. Know that you have control over what you will say. Be ready to pause and give them white sound. Sounds like this.
And
While you're
why
thinking.
why are you thinking? It is it is so true. You have to do the work. Sometimes people say, um, I have to be confident to do that. No, it's the other way around. You do it, you practice, and then you become more and more confident about it. And also
Mm,
doing the work, you become more and more confident about it. It is not something that you have from the word get go. It's something that you have to claim, you have to practice on, and it may feel uncomfortable. And even when you are confident, and for example, you're standing on stage like you had just had a presentation, it doesn't always feel comfortable.
no,
That's the
no.
other thing. You
And
can be confident and it's not comfortable.
yes, I always feel sorry for the crabs, Jacqueline, because when they go for growth, they've got to shed their hard shell. And all the fish know that it seasons on for soft crabs.
Yeah,
Even the
yeah,
humans go hunting for those crabs at that particular
that's
point in time. If you're not feeling discomfort, you're probably not growing. You're probably staying within your comfort zone. That's not to say you should do ridiculous things like before you've learned your subject, try and go and provide a talk on that subject. That's silly because you're doomed to fail on that one.
mm,
That's
mm,
not that's not confidence, that's just stupidity. And I think that's the
mm.
other side of confidence too, where you get too rash, too full of yourself and you don't know what you don't know. So that consciousness of what you do know is super important. And I like, as I say, I like to think, well, okay, was I 100% confident this morning? I knew my subject. I wasn't 100% confident on my delivery, but that's why I had a coach in the audience who was there to help me learn about my delivery.
Yeah, yeah,
And so now I'll reiterate, I'll do more
yeah.
work on that presentation. And next time I deliver it, I will be that little bit closer to exuding confidence, a little bit more in control of the room.
Yeah, it's also interesting, the notion of I'm just sort of visualizing that you had this presentation and you do come across as confident, you know your topic, and there may be moments where you maybe haven't felt so confident during the presentation, and I'm just assuming right now, but maybe you were confident, or maybe you were coming across as confident without being or putting on a pretense. So sometimes we can have this inner sense, oh, I'm not so confident about this section right now. And I was sometimes surprised when I gave presentation and I thought, oh, I don't know how this went. And then people came to me and they said, oh, this was amazing. And I'm like, what, really? So
Mm.
I was somewhat exuding confidence, but as I was presenting, there were sort of aspects where I was thinking, oh, I could have done this better, or I got a little bit lost. And, it's like, ooh, um, but that doesn't mean that I lost my inner confidence. I might have just, picked myself up and just continued. And people can relate to that. And yeah, it's sometimes interesting the feedback you get. And then you think sometimes, oh, this was so cool. Wasn't I great? And then someone
Yeah.
is like in the audience, like you had your coach in the audience saying, it
Well,
was so
maybe,
lovely.
right, maybe,
Maybe,
there is this, but I think the inner critic is always at work on us, always.
yeah,
The inner critic doesn't go to sleep.
yeah,
So, and I've noticed that the more I develop my consciousness in regard to monitoring the words that are coming out of my mouth, I form opinions around those words. You know, the brain doesn't say, "Hey, I'm not going to let you have peace on this." No, 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 no. You could have done that better. Your timing was a little bit rough
yeah.
there.
See,
And that's why I tried to judge that performance by the amount of nods of different people at different times.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I've even learned not
yeah,
to judge a presentation by the number of questions you get in Q&A, because
yeah,
sometimes if you really hit home with the being conversation around this is essential to the growth of your business, whatever you want to achieve in the world, the limit to that is the context, and that context is you. Now, if you have that conversation and it lands, then not surprisingly, not a lot of people want to ask questions in a public forum. So,
Um, yeah, and what I'm also hearing a little bit with you here today is perfectionism and wanting to be perfect.
why
The
shouldn't we strive for
same as
why
confidence. Well,
yeah
I think, well, I don't know what your little observer has said to you after the presentation and the feedback she gave you, which I'm sure was really valuable. Um, but I think also we have this inner critique, oh no, I didn't do this right. Wanting to be perfect. This wasn't how I meant to get it across.
mm,
But
mm,
that doesn't necessarily take away from confidence, and you can also um, say something that you have to correct, and you can do this with confidence, saying, "Oh, let me start again. I didn't get that across right," and then start again, and
yeah
that's confidence.
just I own that it's
On
not
that, on
perfect.
the space.
Yeah, there's a wonderful lyric in, and I heard Leonard Cohen sing it, and I'm sure if he actually wrote it,
Mm.
but he says, "Forget your perfect thing. It's the cracks that let the sun shine in."
Oh, that's so beautiful.
It's
That's
lovely, isn't it?
amazing.
So don't be
Yes,
thinking you need to be perfect, and it's okay to strive for perfection.
yeah.
But don't, this is the commitment versus attachment discussion. If you're attached to a certain version of what perfect is, then you're making your life hard, because why would you do that when you can be, you can exude confidence by accepting that perfection's perfectly okay. We're human. We'll make a mistake. We might even misspeak, and we might be in front of people when we do it. If we notice it, just own it. I
And
should have said.
and the thing is, this you touched on a really important point: is this attachment to a certain outcome and how things should look. And when we are getting too attached to the outcome and how things should look, our view just really narrows in on, the certain results that we think is the best version of us. And then we're just more focusing on us than maybe on the audience or or the team or the other
Yeah.
person. Yeah. And as soon as we guide our focus into the audience or the person that we're talking to, we are not so focused on ourselves, and there's a lot of freedom in it to do
Mm.
so. I remember I learned this. I quite like presenting, and sometimes I thought, in my earlier days, I thought, oh, will the audience connect with me? Will I connect with the audience? And my concern was always, will the audience connect with me, until I got coaching on this. And I was coached in a way that there will be some people will connect with me, or hopefully the majority, but some people won't. And if I'm
mm,
constantly concerned about will I connect, that was my concern. That's not necessarily
mm.
everyone else's concern. But if I have this concern, I'm focusing on the presentation where people connect with me. And guess what happens? People won't connect with me. So the coaching was just, be yourself. It's easy said and then done. Be authentic, just, do your thing. And don't worry about if some people don't connect with you, because that's going to happen. And
Yeah.
in that was so much freedom. I thought, I never worry about if people connect with me. It's like, wow, this is amazing. It's a whole shift in mindset, and a whole shift in being, and regaining freedom, and I'm sure a lot of confidence. Um,
Yeah. And I think that that goes to, if you value your unique self, and you're bringing, no matter what the situation might be, a presentation, it might be applying for a job, it might be having a difficult conversation with an employee or whatever. But if you're coming from the point of view of you're bringing the best of you with the best of intents, with love, if you want, into partnership, um, then they'll, you're doing all you can do and all you can control. Whether someone accepts you or lets you in or listens to you, even in that presentation this morning, that was my intention, was to be of service to these people. Whether they listened or not, well, that's their business.
yeah, yeah, it's not your business, isn't it? I've heard you
Yeah.
say that to me before. Yeah, it's mm,
I can only bring what I can bring into the situation, and being me and being okay with who I am. And that's
mm,
what's so important about the work of being. I think, people talk, it can be a difficult concept to get across being, but I like saying that, look, the moment you meet somebody, you make a judgment call. You do. And then you go about finding evidence to prove that
mm,
your immediate instinctual response was right. Because essentially
yeah,
what you're doing is reading the pattern of that person, comparing with everybody else you've ever met. And if there was a person at school that was like that person, then they were not a particularly nice person, then that's your
yeah,
prejudgment over there. So that happens. All we can do as individuals is to find out what it is, who
mm.
we want to be, to and who will we be if we take the actions that will deliver the outcomes for us and others.
That's
And if you be
that's right.
that and you're satisfied that's who you're being, that's where you sit. Now you got your feet on rock, because that's you. People
And
can think what
and
they like.
and being really connected to your passion, um, that is also helping to exude confidence, because then you don't look at the sort of little mistakes, because you're very passionate about what you want to bring across, and that's the sort of higher focus rather than these attachments. And I find people who are confident in themselves, not necessarily perfect, but confident in themselves, this is infectious. We love talking or listening to someone who exudes confidence in a very healthy way, um, without necessarily being perfect. If
Mm,
they have a hiccup, we just easily ignore it, because everyone has little slippages here and there. And
mm,
being confident is because we get to see sort of a true aspect of the person. I find when someone is truly confident in themselves, and we love to see it. And I find also these sort of talent shows, they also often bring that out when someone goes on stage, and maybe they're not that perfect, or they're not the most brilliant singer, but people love the person because they're confident, they exude something, that they're passionate about something, and that really brings it often home. While there could be someone who's really perfect in their voice, and they've maybe done it for 10 years, and they are a great entertainer, and they're great on stage and everything, and people just don't connect because there's something missing that's not coming across. And then you see, well, they have a level of confidence, but there is an authenticity missing, which is
Mm,
almost like a little bit, or can be a little bit like a pretense. And people notice that.
mm,
We're
mm.
hardwired to notice that.
And it's interesting because from the last talent competition I watched, I remember seeing a singer that was very, very experienced, but in theatrical pantomimes and musicals.
Mm, mm,
So
mm,
always playing a character.
mm. Yeah, yeah,
And there's a big difference between playing a character and being you
yeah,
and coming across as you. And I think
yeah,
that can be a difficult thing to make that adjustment. But that's kind of the way I sort of see that, is that when somebody's accustomed to playing a character, and we as normal humans can be very much do this. I mean, one of the guys in this presentation this morning said it makes me think about how we can actually take on a work character that's so
mm,
far away from who we
mm,
actually are. But nobody in our work world would actually guess who we are
mm, mm.
because of this persona that we've put out there. Then we're way doing this. And he's right, but I will guarantee just about everybody will figure that something instinctively is wrong.
Yeah, yeah. That is,
And
that's, yeah, yeah. Please go ahead.
and the character that's doing the performing will be exhausted, will eventually run out of energy.
That's a really good point because it's not really aligned with who you are, and this is again such a valuable point. This persona, the image that we're projecting to the world. Obviously, when we're at work or at home or with our friends, we have different personas come out of us, but they can be authentic. When I'm at work, I'm not running around in my track pants, or I'm not, being on sort of an easy conversation. I'm more work focused. Does that mean I'm putting an act on? No, it's authentically me. But then when I talk to my daughter, I have a very different conversation. This can all be very authentic because it's aligned with who I am. But as you said, just in this example, if the gap is too big, if I'm going to work and I have to so adjust myself to project a certain persona out, you have to question yourself, what is the reason? Is the reason that I'm in the wrong job? Or is the
Mm.
reason that there is a sort of lack of confidence, or something that I'm not believing in and I'm putting this act on? So it can be, either way. And there is a gap, and
It's
people will, yeah.
I'm sitting here laughing at myself here, so I'll expose myself here. Um, in my previous life of international trading, um, I very much relied on my academic achievements, my experience, all these external things that I acquired to give me credibility because I wasn't being me. This is me, and I'm a very different man to what I was when I was globetrotting. That man, because I wasn't nourishing that, I didn't even like that guy, let alone nourish him. In the end, it was like, oh, look, I've achieved all these wonderful things. I've endless travel budgets, da 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 da, and I'm miserable as sin. So that leads to burnout. That leads to depression and anxiety. And even though I exuded confidence, borrowed confidence, because look, hey, I've got an MBA. That means I'm one of the better educated in the business world. Oh, I've been to Harvard to do strategic negotiation. That means I've studied possibly at the highest level
Mm,
negotiation. So therefore, I am good.
mm,
The funny thing about that is now that I'm being me, I have this collection of toys that also add credibility to me. So
Yeah,
I can actually
yeah.
be, but I see them for what they are now. They were just
That's
shields that
that's
I was putting
that's
up.
that's
So you
right.
couldn't, yeah.
And
So
the person underneath wasn't really shining through. Now the person underneath is shining through, and you're using all your skills and certifications and education to help you, which
that's
is,
right.
yeah,
That's right, and it opens the door to people because it's like, oh, well, I've got a badge. There's the badge. Okay, so you've done a bit of
absolutely.
education, especially in this case because part of my MBA is in leadership, which that's kind of handy.
Yeah,
Strategic management. That's also handy if I'm selling myself as a coach to businesses. So
and
that, of course,
it,
helps.
yeah, it does help, and it's also absolutely 100% valid to
Mm,
showcase these certifications,
mm.
because they are valid and highly acknowledged certifications, as long as you're not just using them as a shield or hiding behind it or so
That's
forth.
right.
And that is adding to your confidence because you have done the work. This is how we started. You've done the work, you've done the educations, and you
Yeah.
can acknowledge yourself for that.
Where I
And
went wrong though, Jack, if I sorry
yeah,
if I just jump in there, is I where I was missing was doing the work on who am I?
mm, yeah,
Who was I really? And I'd
yeah,
done a deal with the devil that I was going to be this person, and I went and be that person. Now that's where things get a bit
yeah,
dicey
yeah,
because the wheels fall off. It's not sustainable. It's sustainable for long
yeah.
enough, but it's interesting, isn't it? You know, there's this confidence that I genuine confidence that I got from having these qualifications and stood there, even though being that person and doing the taking the actions that one takes when you're tying up international contracts for large amounts of money and goods and goodness knows what. It's interesting because you got to build trust. And so obviously I was able to build trust um, because I was pretty successful at what I did.
And
But I wasn't, yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
I'm digging myself into a
it
hole
is.
here.
Yeah, look, I'll dig you out of this hole.
Okay.
I'll dig you out because you were competent.
Hmm.
Regardless of, you were hiding behind this. This was just a different conversation, but you were competent, so
Yeah,
people
that'd be right.
trust you,
Hmm.
even though you have, back in those days used it as a shield, and a lot of people do that also. That's why we're pointing this out. That doesn't mean that
Yeah,
you're
that was
not
just my internal chatter, wasn't it?
trustworthy. You were actually delivering, but the conflict was within yourself, keeping up a certain facade, and
Hmm.
and
You're
that
right.
that costs energy. Keeping,
Hmm.
when you said the wheels come off, and you have to put the wheels back on, this is costing energy. While
Hmm.
when you're actually authentically yourself and you exude confidence, it is energizing to yourself as well. You're not losing energy. And I think that's where it was. You were hiding something. I'm even
Hmm.
sometimes wondering what the hell were you hiding? Because you have these qualifications, but you probably had a different mindset and a different approach.
The the issue there is self-belief. One of the questions that we've come up with is can you be confident and feel uncomfortable? Well, the answer is
Mm.
yes. You can.
Yes, yeah,
You can exude confidence even when your knees are shaking. So,
absolutely. Yeah, because
because if you've done the work.
that's right. Because as leaders, you have to have uncomfortable conversations. There is no way around it. Nobody gets around it. You will be challenged.
Mm,
You may have changes in your own business, or the business that you're working for has changes, and you have to do whatever is called the restructure, and you may have to give people uncomfortable news.
mm,
And the thing is, you can do this with compassion and confidence, and it may not feel comfortable, but you got to do it. But if you do it as a leader, if you then think, if you exude your lack of confidence, it will make the situation so much more awkward. And I've been there as well.
Mm.
It it doesn't help the situation.
Now, as you alluded to before, Jack, if a leader is confident, confidence is contagious, and
Mm.
so is the lack of it.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
is the
yeah.
lack of it.
That's
So
right.
if the team get the feeling that the boss is not confident, that'll soon rattle through the building very, very quickly. So
That's that's a big one. That's a really good point again. Um, because people pick up on it, and then the team will just go and do whatever they want to do in sort of
well,
very generic terms expressed.
you heard of rats leaving the ship will actually be your most able rats that go first. And that's not to say that somebody should tell lies, but they need to be in touch with reality. This is what is authentically the situation,
Mm,
and be prepared to look at the ugly aspects, and that
mm,
requires confidence. So
mm,
if we're going to go and deal with things that are the real issues in that are facing a business, then we have to be confident enough to look at the really ugliest ones first, because the other ones are going to hurt you.
mm, mm,
So I remember taking over a business that was in a fair amount of trouble, and it was about addressing the elephants in the room, and that required a belief that, hey, we can solve it, and a plan. This is like, do the work. I keep coming back to this. If you want to
mm,
be genuinely confident and not cocky and
mm.
silly, then have done the homework, have done the
Yes.
work to know what you're doing, plan it, practice it even, and then
Mm,
execute it.
yeah.
Talk to
Yeah.
people that trust you, that you trust. Sorry. Um, so the more I think about the subject, how do you exude confidence? How do you be confident? It's for me is about doing the work on myself, understanding the subject, understanding what I'm addressing, actually work on the topic, so as I have the data I need to make those decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. And also I would add, not to be too self-conscious how you come across, and am I I'm a woman, am I wearing the right dress, outfit, how do I come across, not
Mm,
to worry too much about these things, and stick to the subject, and more focus on the actual subject or the other person that you're talking to, rather than yourself. Oh my God, how am I going, do I come across? um, and I also remember one team member I had years ago in my team. He actually displayed leadership, and people in the team members recognized him as a leader. And in our sort of career development sessions, I was talking to him, about taking on a leadership role in the team, and he was like, "What? Me? Are you
mm,
talking to me?"
mm,
And there was a lack of confidence, but he was actually taking on leadership and displaying it. And then the time came. Well, he did become a team leader, and the team actually wanted him to be a team leader, which is
mm,
quite interesting. And he was like, "Well, oh, you're already informally doing it." At the
mm,
time. And then the time came when he was given an award. And because I knew him and we were still working on his confidence and owning the space, I told him, "Look, I have to tell you this, you're going to get an award this afternoon. I want you to stay on stage and receive the applause from the people." Because what he would do, he would just walk off. And the thing is, what it does to the rest of the team is it disempowers the team, because they all wanted him to receive this award. They were happy about it. So you then also, if you are on the receiving end, you want to be seen, oh, it's great. Oh, thank you. You know, we want to see how it lights you up and how you receive it versus, "Oh, yeah, I should, oh, let's move off
Yeah,
stage."
look, that's a
It's,
really good point you're making there, Jack. And I think, you're always in service of the other person. If you're always in service, so like in that case there, I possibly would guess that once he got it, that his actions post receiving the reward weren't about him and how he felt about it, but it was
yeah,
about how the team felt about it. So now he's doing it for them, which he would go, oh yeah, sure, I'll stay. Just
yeah,
like he'll go, okay,
that's
well, I have to, because I'm doing it for them. And that's a really key thing there, is that if you're in service of those that you are working with and for, or those who you're displaying confidence to, and make it over there, and not about, whether you're wearing the right glasses or the lipstick or whatever. As long as you're turning up feeling good about yourself. And that's another entire conversation over there that we always need to have with every coachee that I've ever had, that we all have self-doubts. We all have internal chatter that would tell us everything that's wrong. We will say things to ourselves that we'd get really upset about if somebody said to us. We'll beat
good.
ourselves up mercilessly. And I think that's an important part in understanding how confidence works. You're
Yeah,
probably never going to be 100% happy with the way you look, or whether you have the presentation down perfectly, or whatever it is that you're doing. That's a journey, and it's always a journey.
yeah.
I don't think you'll ask, because I don't think I want to get to that point where I've got as good as I get, because the next stage is not good. It's going downhill.
It's just going downhill. That's
or or a wall splat,
uh, yeah, yeah, and then it becomes stagnating and maybe boring, and you lose interest. So it's good. I mean, we're just wired that way. We like a little bit of a challenge. Some people more than
Mm,
others, and yeah, and that just keeps us going, and it's motivating, it's rewarding, it's empowerment, and that, empowerment is such a big buzzword these days, which kind of goes hand in hand often with confidence, which is also a buzzword, but empowerment even more, and people want to be empowered, but you
mm,
you can only empower yourself. You've got to do the work. You've got to get out there, and sometimes it starts with a no, setting healthy boundaries, and
yeah.
that in itself can be extremely empowering, and then in turn give you confidence. Oh, right, today I stood up for myself. Today I set appropriate boundaries for myself, which in the past I didn't do. Wow, I feel good about myself.
Mm.
Next time your confidence level goes up because you've done it, you've been through the process, and the next step will be a little bit easier, maybe not always.
Well, look, I think each step is a step towards integrity, and we were going to list the ways of being that are in confidence, and integrity as the distinction in the being framework is about, which is like, okay, like a foundation. Are you full and complete? Do you have what it takes to do the job? And that might include, by the way, your colleagues that are supporting you.
Mm, mm,
So that's, and that then goes to awareness of your situation, what's around you. The more you are aware, the for me, the safer and more relaxed I become, because I realize that everybody actually wants me to do well.
mm.
Everybody actually, nobody's out there to get me or a gotcha. This is not American politics. This is life. This is not about that gotcha moment. When you're in that interview, the person that's interviewing you for that job, they want you to be the best possible candidate they've ever seen in their life. Why?
Yeah,
Because they want that standard of person. So,
that's that's right. I mean, I remember interviewing, I found it always highly exciting. Who's going to be this person? I hope they're going to be it. People do this with a positive attitude usually. See who we're going to get next in our team,
yeah.
and who are they? Yeah,
And ask
that's
yourself if you ever sat there in an audience when a presenter gets up and goes and say to yourself, "Yeah, I hope you're hopeless. I hope you crash."
no.
Like,
I mean, you
no,
spend all the time
and a
getting there.
lousy stand-up comedian is not worth watching. I mean, look, the point I'm trying to get to here is that when you understand that the world wants you to be the best version of you that you can be, you're prepared to do the work to do that, understand what that's about, understand, have the integrity, have the knowledge of whatever it is that you need the confidence for, then you really start getting somewhere. And then we've got the intangibles, like, okay, how do I get over anxiety? A little bit of anxiety, bit of stage fright, not so bad, just wakes you up, perks the adrenaline going, you know. Um, in my case today, because as you know, I've got a knee replacement coming down the road at me, I noticed the adrenaline shut down the pain to a
Oh,
great degree.
yes,
That
yes,
because my mind was about that fear over there
yeah,
rather than that pain down there. So it was a positive thing, if you want. Um, and then fear, don't be irrational.
mm,
And if you do all that together, guess what? You appear courageous.
yeah. And I would conclude this also with, I mean, we spoke a little bit about being present and what helps you to be present and also counteract or let go of some anxiety is deep breathing. So if you have to do
Mm,
presentation, just really before you go on
yep.
stage, take a few deep breaths, and it will just
I
take the edge of that anxiety if you have it. And
totally
it is,
agree with you, Jack. Did
yeah,
that this morning, and it certainly helped step up and just go,
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Now, my
yeah,
friends, let's talk
yeah,
about this. And we still, and as I say, it wasn't perfect. I know it wasn't perfect because I deliberately put somebody in the audience to tell me what I did wrong. Well, not wrong, but where I could have improved.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And so I'll go back and I'll do the work again. And next time I present, I probably won't be any more confident than what I was this time, but I may give my audience a better experience.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's ultimately
yeah,
what I'm trying to do.
yeah. Very well.
The exuding confidence versus my personal confidence. Yeah,
Yeah,
probably will.
yeah.
But even though I won't feel it, but there we
Right.
go.
Here we go. I think we also come to the end of this podcast. Exuding confidence. It is
Yeah,
infectious. It is infectious if you talk to a
it is
person,
infectious.
and it is also effective.
Effective, yes. And you can do it.
Yes,
Love
and
to
for
love to hear
you,
any topics you'd like to talk about. You can get in hold of us. Please go and
yeah,
watch the other podcasts. It's a joy to be with you. It's a joy to be with you, Jack, every week to do
yeah.
this.
I'm loving
And
this.
and it's so we'll see everybody next week.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.